Well, if it isn't Mr. McGee and his little friend, the Hulk. Didn't notice you ladies out there in the battlefield, as usual.
And that's because we're doing real spy work, shore leave.
No, that's right, I forgot. You're too busy chasing some phantom costume terrorist organization to help us fight the real enemies of freedom. Sphinx.
USA!
We'll prove the guild is still around, and we'll take them down without you. Just you wait!
I won't hold my breath. Let's hit the showers, fellas! Woo!
USA!
Oh, Hunter, where the flowers called. He wants his madam back. Boom!
Oh, yeah? Well, the village people called, and they want you to go f***ing kill yourself, you princy bastard! At least it's got a hell of a ham sandwich as the 86 dress code.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the pilots who combine our vehicles to form Voltron's illegitimate son. I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jesse.
And V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes and Stitcher. You can follow us at rolling_20s on Twitter. You can follow our Facebook page under Mission Start Podcast. You can send me any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning was by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free at machinesupremacy.com. The clip you heard at the beginning of the show was a section of the Venture Brothers known as Yo S.I. It's kind of a G.I. Joe joke, but it gets worse from there. How are y'all doing?
I only got 2 days of work this week.
It's more than me.
Yeah. Oh, sometime soon coming up, though, we may have to actually change the time that we do this again.
Are you changing shifts again?
Yeah, they asked for volunteers, so I'm going to a permanent Friday, Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Is that... that makes things a little rough on V. But that leaves Sundays wide open again, doesn't it?
Yep.
Oh, there's always that.
Or something.
All right. How about you, Jesse?
I've been hanging out with my dad for this week. It was kind of fun.
Okay.
Except
Fishing?
except for last week at this time, I learned that he was in the ER.
What happened?
High blood pressure got way too high.
Oh.
Ooh.
No, that's what happens when you blow up too many balloons.
Nah, that's bad health and old age.
Oh, okay. But he's out now, right?
Oh yeah, he's fine. I mean, we moved 2 refrigerators back and forth through the kitchen.
Oh, joy! That's fun hangout time. What about you, Miss V?
I've not really done anything exciting,
You just
unfortunately.
been hiding somewhere?
No. But the most exciting thing I've done this week is buy a fruit bowl. So.
Very
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's some productivity. But we were discussing before the show that we may see a current picture of you soon in a Star Trek dress.
Oh, now I have to do it.
Oh, you don't have to. We were discussing it. It's not like I promised anyone. No one's given me money.
Yet.
Oh. No, totally. I'll try to get on that this week. But yeah, I got a Science Blue Star Trek uniform from ThinkGeek.com.
Nice. I mean,
Nice.
I look forward to seeing it. If there's any additions of the Naughty Vulcan, I won't cry. This week we're actually going to get back to pop culture profiling. We put together a list of 8 characters that we may be able to discuss, and of course, as with previous conversations, we decided that sex will probably be a part of the conversation going forward. Before we get into the news, there's of course our Kickstarter corner, and there is the juggernaut that is hard to stop, the project of Mighty No. 9 by Concept USA. It is the game that is the spiritual successor to Mega Man with a new character called Beck. It has 3 days to go. It ends on October 1st, the beginning of the next month. It currently has 47,000 backers. It had a goal of $900,000. It has demolished it by currently standing at $2.7 million. And actually, as I talked about it, it just went up another $50. It's at $2,701,942. Can you believe this thing?
Yes.
Someone messaged me earlier today. Apparently, if you pledge an additional $36 on top of the goal, you will get a retro-style USB thumb drive that comes in the shape of a Nintendo or Super Nintendo cartridge with the game on it.
Nice.
Seriously?
Yeah, it just seems like it, even though it is close to done, they just keep adding weird stuff onto this thing. You know, and I'm not arguing it, but it is a strange add-on this late in the game.
That's actually a very cool add-on. I like it.
Man, I don't know what else can be said. I mean, it will not stop. With 3 days to go and 600,000, obviously they're not going to get the PS4 and Xbox One versions, but at this point, it doesn't matter.
Wait, how many days are left?
3 days. They would have to get $600,000.
It can happen.
I grant you, in the first day, this thing went to 1.1 million, but since then, it's gone down to, the average jumps that you would expect.
Oh, there are always a holdout to the very end.
Well, since the latest stretch goals they've reached is now there's a challenge mode, an extra end stage and boss, and there's a beck and call online co-op challenge mode now. Holy shit, man. I would like to dig into these guys' pockets for just a few minutes. Seriously.
I wonder what they've got in their couch.
More than I've got. They're probably hiding another couch. Also, there is the Kickstarter for the Mysterious Cities of Gold. It ends, believe it or not, on September 29th. It has 47 hours left in it. It has 1,019 backers. They had a goal of $30,000, and they're currently sitting at $40,755. Seems like since they reached gold, this one is going up rather slowly. But they did actually reach the first of their stretch goals, which is an extra languages subtitle pack. I don't know if that's entirely useful. But obviously this game is now coming to Nintendo and I think it's 3DS, Wii, and PC. So it's not exactly reaching all, all audiences, but there's still going to be people out there that have the chance to play it. I guess the question I have is, I appear to be one of the few people that remember when this was a TV show, so is there really a market for it?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it as a TV show as well. I always remember watching it and being very confused.
Easily. That would easily happen on that show. One of the other Kickstarters we have is Akiba Art Magazine Volume 00. It's otaku pop culture scenes from Akihabara done by artists. It's being done by JH Lab in Tokyo, Japan. The Kickstarter has 15 days left to end on October 13th. 827 backers. The goal was a measly $4,500. They currently stand at $42,674.
Wow.
This might not make it.
Maybe. Doubtful.
Oh, they've achieved just about all of their stretch goals. They only have a couple others at 50, 60, and 70,000. They still stand a chance of getting there, but I wouldn't bet money on it. But either way, this is a significant package, and it's still one I'm considering putting money down into. I'm always into supporting independent artists, and this is definitely the edge of independence. And another Kickstarter we've recently started following is Fubar Mother Russia, the story of a young Russian sniper carrying a baby in World War II Russia who is being harangued by zombies. That's about the long and short of it. It has 10 days to go to end on October 8th. It's being done by Jeff McComsky of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It has 1,236 backers of a goal of $3,500. They currently sit at $67,621.
That's just insane.
They had 3 stretch goals listed at $25,000, $50,000, and $65,000. They've hit them all. And for $65,000, they're adding an unnamed one-shot to this story. I don't know how big this book is going to be. I imagine it's a single graphic novel, but at the same time, you know what? Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is their first project, but obviously they have enough of a following that people really believe in what they're doing. But it's going to be a black and white graphic novel, similar in style to The Walking Dead, obviously, since there's a semi-similar premise. I look forward to reading it, frankly.
Hmm.
There's also Forager, an all-ages sci-fi graphic novel Kickstarter being done by Jimmy Palmiotti, who is a notable DC, I believe, writer. He's doing it out of Safety Harbor, Florida. It has 7 days to go and ends on October 5th. 688 backers. They had a goal of $22,500. They currently sit at $23,637. Actually, this appears to be a graphic novel, not a novel, I'm sorry. But it appears to be happening. Is just above goal, although I don't see anything about a stretch goal. Actually, there's one written here, but they didn't put it in a nifty graphic like a lot of people. If they get to 28,000, you'll get an extra book attached to your download. So apparently it's going to be a digital graphic novel. Would have been nice if you would say what in the world it is. Maybe people would actually put more money into it. And the other Kickstarter I've been following is Hail Mary, the animated series. It's a story of an assassin in World War I France who hangs out at a bar, does hard drinking, and runs into other assassins as well as rival assassins. It has 6 days to go, 58 backers. The goal is $16,000. They currently sit at $5,317. I'd almost swear that's only a few $100s off where they sat last time we checked in.
Yeah.
This one does not appear to be going forward. It's not exactly ambitious. I don't know if they just didn't advertise enough. I would honestly watch something like this at least once to see if I liked it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'd like to see it, I just don't think I'm going to at this point. And, I had an Indiegogo I was following, but that appears to have been removed. The one for the Dark Knight fan sequel.
That's not surprising.
It's gone.
They probably had copyright issues, I would think.
Yeah, they probably got slammed. I mean, in the first day, they almost reached their goal. Or in the first few days, I should say. They were well on their way to getting it done. So somebody must have gotten to them. I'll have to look that up later.
Maybe they co-opted it for their own?
I wouldn't imagine so. I mean, they need to bury the Nolanverse so they can move forward with the Justice League.
Fair enough.
You know, not unless you want to unretire Batman, which sounds like a very strange story in and of itself.
Or they could do some sort of weird, well, it's in this other time frame kind of thing.
Batman from an alternate universe comes in, stabs him in the forehead, and assumes his life. There you go!
Haven't they done that already?
It sounds more like a Marvel thing.
Well, as many worlds as DC has.
Oh, I don't want to get into the conversation of the Vampire Bat, the Man Bat, the Red Sun Bat, and all that other stuff. Obviously, I've been doing this too long. We'll go ahead and get into the regular news. Bryan Singer is back to tweeting pictures from the sets of X-Men Days of Futures Past. The latest one he did appears to be an editing room where there's a picture of what looks to be a destroyed sign for the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. He keeps giving all these weird little teasers that don't seem to mean anything by themselves. I have a feeling it's one of those things we'll see the movie and then we'll go, oh.
Isn't it how it's supposed to be?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, except the footage from Days of Futures Past that they showed at Comic-Con recently leaked online again. They keep trying to shut it down, but it keeps ending up out in the ether for people to see. Wow, okay.
Spoilers.
Really? This is the internet. That's all you got.
I spend a lot of time skipping things.
I stopped arguing with it. I just kind of accepted it's going to happen. Last week, we went through the Firefly comics. You guys are not going to believe this. Dark Horse is relaunching the Serenity series.
Really?
Yeah. They're doing it again with Joss Whedon. And it's going to be a brand new series that takes place following the movie.
Oh.
So Whedon is getting a lot of success when he teams up with Dark Horse to continue his properties, and apparently he's just going even further with it.
Man's got a lot on his plate, man.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see this return to TV, so would I, but the fact is half the actors have moved on to other projects. It'd be almost impossible to get them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to recast at least some of the actors.
Yeah, assuming they didn't
Or
just
set in a different time frame or something.
Right, assuming they didn't just write out some of them all together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Shepherd Book is dead.
Yeah. Well, the
Wow.
the base premise that they gave up in the press release was that River Tam is now in the co-pilot chair of the Serenity, and a very pregnant Zoe is still reeling from the death of her husband. And, of course, Captain Mal is getting them into more danger than they've ever had before.
Yep, just usual day at the office.
Yep.
When you have the psychotic psychic in the pilot seat. No?
Could
Okay.
be worse.
I'm just picturing this in my head.
I thought someone would pluck that low-hanging fruit. I mean, geez.
Well, she's not crazy anymore.
There goes
That
half
will
the
need
fun.
to be seen.
Well, that's true. Let's just hope they
She'll
never give her a
probably
gun.
still be very eccentric. Like, remember,
Oh, I have no doubt.
even when they showed the flashbacks of her as a kid, she was still a little touched.
She was
Which
more than...
makes sense. Because,
Well, when you
she
say
makes
touch, you
insanity.
mean weird. You don't mean priest, right?
I mean weird.
Okay. Just
I don't
checking.
know.
I wanted to see if somebody knew something I didn't.
I want to know what's worse, the psychotic teenager or the skilled assassin that's going through hormonal changes.
Dude, I can tell you right now with 3 small kids, I'm hating the psychotic teenager thing.
Teenagers was at least sweet.
Of course, that's how they stab you. Well,
That's getting close.
last week, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. It did a number on people's pocketbooks, apparently. It shattered the record for the fastest-selling game to reach $1 billion.
Didn't he do it in a day?
Nope, 3 days.
Okay.
That's all it took was 3 days for that company to sell $1 billion worth of discs. I'm going to guess they made back their production money.
I don't know.
Amazing.
Well, they did it $300 million faster, technically, than the previous record holder, which was Black Ops 2. This is just... It has legs of its own, and I may have to play this one just to see what the frick the hype is about.
No,
Yeah,
I've tried
I'm not going to
one
bother
game.
with it.
Yeah,
You know, if it wasn't for the hype machine, I never would have tried Tomb Raider, so I gotta give it a little try.
that's true.
I tried playing some of its earlier incarnations. I was just never did like it.
Yeah, well, I didn't like Tomb Raider 3. I still like the current one. It's just
That's true. It all depends on how much it changed from the previous iterations.
Yeah. Stephen Amell, who is the star of the TV show Arrow for DC and Warner Brothers,
Yep.
he has teased the arrival of more Justice League characters on the show.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we all know that the Flash is going to debut in there.
Yeah.
When he was asked by the Digital Spy how he would feel about being part of Warner Brothers' planned Justice League movie, he responded enthusiastically and teased that the more successful Arrow becomes, the better the odds that we'll see more characters like the Flash make their debut there. I can't see the fault in that because DC is so behind the 8 ball when it comes to producing their characters in movies. Maybe TV is the best way to bring them about in a succinct fashion. I just still don't know. I think DC's missing out on a terrible amount of revenue if they don't do movies.
Well, I don't know about you, but I haven't watched something on TV in quite some time. I got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. via Amazon. I'm wondering if there's not a big market now for, or at least bigger market now for online revenues.
There's a market, and there's no denying that. I mean, I watch most of my TV the day after it airs via download these days myself. The issue, though, is that Marvel has made a butt-ton of movies with their characters and a little bit of savvy writing. And as much as I'm a Marvel fan, I cannot argue that DC has the much more recognizable icons in their lineup.
Facing the savvy writing.
Yeah, they don't have the savvy writing. I mean, Man of Steel is about as polarizing of a movie as The Dark Knight Rises, and yet it still made back its budget plus. So I would think that the money is not in TV anymore. It's either in movies or it's in direct series, and they're not doing direct series. You know, Warner Brothers is still working on the older format. I think they're making a mistake by not going direct to film with several other properties.
You're probably right.
Well, it's a theory. I'm obviously no genius. I'm sitting here podcasting for crying out loud. But at the same time, if your competition has set up the framework and shown you how to make it successful, and you have the more popular characters, what's really stopping you? Other than
Ethics?
the Green Lantern movie.
Uh,
That stopped a lot of people cold. We discussed last week how I found out in Infinity Thanos wants to kill his son, who nobody seemed to know existed except for him. Marvel revealed a picture of a character named Thane in their Avengers Alliance mobile phone game. They believe, or at least the online rags believe, that this is a picture of what he's eventually going to look like as Thanos' son. He's billed as a character that controls both life and death. So I'll make sure that the webmaster gets a copy of that picture to put up. And one of the co-writers from Captain Marvel is now working on bringing Dark Horse's Ghost back from development hell. The character series ended quite a while ago, but Sue DeConnick, who's been very well received critically on the Captain Marvel series, is working on bringing the character back into comics. It's one of those stories where somebody's half dead and is between the worlds of the living and the worlds of the dead and has to regulate them both. She dresses in all white, tends to carry a pair of, I think, Berettas. I don't quite know how it works because I've never picked up an issue. It's one of those characters that's just very recognizable when you're going through the racks. What? What's funny?
just bad play on words.
Oh my god, dude! Does everything come up to tits to you?
I would find it a little more odd that it didn't.
I'm not going to comment further. I'm just going to piss people off. Remember how we talked about Peter Mayhew?
Little bit?
The guy who played Chewbacca? You know, his
Oh, yeah,
Kickstarter
yeah.
and everything? Okay. There's actually Chewbacca recasting rumors.
Oh.
It's not necessarily that anybody doesn't like anything that's going on, but as discussed, his the status of his knees is in a lot of doubt. He's going in for surgery on both because he's a very tall man, and when you're super tall, it puts a lot of stress on your joints.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter that shooting needs to go forward, and they may not have time for him to recover from double knee surgery. You know, he is 7 to 7.3... They're looking for a male, 7 foot to 7.3 feet tall, with a slim/thin build and upright posture. Not too worked out or too, quote, thick set, especially in the shoulders. Broad facial features would be a bonus.
That's very specific.
Yeah, that's a bit too much for me. Couldn't they just say somebody thin and stilts?
Well, couldn't they just do like they did in The Hobbit? The video tricks?
You would think so. Speaking of which, they recently came out with a video of Star Wars 1313. Believe it or not, the computers have come to the point where they could actually render in characters as they film on the fly.
Nice.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. And they believe a lot in what they're doing. There's a video that was associated with the shooting. I'll make sure to add that as well.
1330, is that the one where you play as a bounty hunter?
I believe so. I am not a heavy Star Wars fan. I'm a light fan at best, because when I get into heavy Star Wars conversations, people tend to talk to me like I'm some noob in World of Warcraft.
Well, I thought, to be honest, I actually thought that game died.
It was one of those things that when LucasArts was purchased, they were working on it. Apparently, instead of burying it, they're still Disney is going forward with it.
Oh, that's good.
And speaking of Disney...
Yeah, I thought that was canceled.
Yeah, that's what we thought, but apparently not. Speaking of Disney, Disney has sent a very strange message to the disabled. You have to wait in line.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, in Disney World, there used to be priority for people who were handicapped. You know, if you had a wheelchair or a crutch, they would take you through a special entrance and take you to the front of the line. I've never had an issue myself with the practice. I always thought it was kind of fair because it's hard enough for these people to get up and get around large theme parks anyway. Apparently, there's been too many people abusing this system and faking injuries, or just maybe they tweak their ankle and suddenly they go to their doctor, get a prescription, and boom, wheelchair in front of every line. So instead, what they're going to do is give them tickets similar to the Fast Pass system. They can go to rides at certain times to get in shorter lines instead. It's one of those things that... Yeah, I don't mind either way. I still think it's sad that so many people are abusing this system for people who actually have trouble. that they now have to take the people who are having trouble and tell them that they have to get into a line anyway. That's sad on a different level.
That 10% just ruins it for everyone.
10? It's more like 2.
So a small percentage of people have the problem are going to abuse the system.
I know, but it's as idiotic as the reason why they put the signs on Rogaine boxes that says not to be taken anally. Who the fuck took that anally that they need to print it on the box?
Someone did.
I know someone did, but that doesn't mean that they need to get a warning that says don't put this in your ass. I think I figured that out already.
Right?
God damn it.
Oh, it's like the people, the hair dryers and all that kind of stuff. Don't put in water. Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the queen of all, that lady who managed to sue McDonald's because her coffee was hot and she burned herself when she poured it on herself. No shit.
I thought they took that away from her later, though.
No, they only reduced it. She still got a massive award out of it. God, we are turning into a nation of retards.
Yes.
Yeah.
In happier news, Ed Brubaker has been a very notable writer on Captain America. He was the one who was around during the death of Captain America's storyline.
Okay.
He's hailed as a modern writing genius. And he has given his stamp of approval on the Winter Soldier script for the movie. He apparently really likes what they're doing here. Let me see if I can find a quote. I read the script. All of a sudden I've turned to Elmer Fudd. I do
that too.
I read the script and I was really blown away by it. The tone of it and the Bucky stuff is so perfect in the way I'd want it to be. I was so thrilled to see that. But to me, the biggest thing, too, is it's the first time Marvel has put a movie to where there's a specific book the title of the movie relates to. I don't think you can ask better for that. I believe Brubaker was also part of how the Winter Soldier came to comics in the first place. I know he went on to write the solo series in 2012. So this... We've discussed before how following the comics may not always be the best recipe, but when you're following the well-written ones, you've got something special going on, obviously.
Yep.
Who knows who Hideo Kojima is?
What?
He's Japanese, obviously.
Oh, good job there, genius. Hideo Kojima is the producer of the Metal Gear Solid title games.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He has been complaining lately about the mainstream media's fixation on social gaming. He seems to think that because the media focuses so much on mobile gaming and cell phones and tablet games, that it is hurting the next generation of video games. He's calling it dangerous and hinting that it's the reason he has to put SNS features in the latest Metal Gear Solid titles.
You know what? I'm not sure if I would go so far as to say endangering, but companies are spending more resources on
I
mobile
agree
gaming.
I agree that endangering is not quite the right word. Poaching may be the right one, because obviously you have to get the quality game designers to work in a different format. Yeah. But he really seems to think that mobile gaming is somehow hurting console and video gaming.
No. Console gamers and mobile gamers are, for the most part, two different societies.
I agree with you there. I look at this similar to when the anime bubble burst in the early 2000s. You remember that period where everybody who seemed to have a shitty idea put out an anime at the height of its popularity? I think we're passing out of the same realm in video games. We're getting through a lot of shitty ideas, and we're finally starting to see the better ones rise to the top.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sorry, I didn't expect that much universal, I don't want to say praise, but sigh of relief, I guess, if somebody else thinks that way.
Well, speaking as in general non-FPS player, for instance, I see there's a lot of freaking FPSs out there, and I'm like, what's the difference?
There is no
story.
Pick one?
I play them, and I would argue there's a big difference between several of them, but I'm one of those people that I'm picky about what I play. I have 3 kids. Obviously, I can't buy every disc I think is funny.
Right.
But, hey, we each have what we like.
Yeah. There's just a lot of games.
Yeah. Palm Beach County, Florida, they have a newspaper that put out an article lately. They have what they call the New Times. It's a blog. And in their section of the pulp, they put up an article about PalmCon, which is some kind of small convention that went on in the county. The funny thing is, though, there's several things wrong with this article. First of all, the title is PalmCon, probably the most depressing comic book convention in history.
Ow.
Yeah, that was kind of a shot in the nuts to begin with. Here's the other thing. Let me read part of the article, and I think you'll figure out where this went wrong. PalmCon is one of the most depressing places I've ever been to in my life. It was basically like going to a mall in which every store sells the same couple of dust-covered items, and every person looks like they work at Hot Topic. I had sort of high hopes for my first comic book convention, not because I like comics, ew, but because I really love dumb hats and costumes. Okay, bitch, slow down.
You're there for the wrong reason.
I know!
Wow.
This is obviously someone who just got an assignment by their newspaper and just had to go to this and doesn't give a shit in general. Her name is Ali Conti. She wrote this back on September 23rd. What the frick are...
Her last name is spelled wrong.
But, I mean, she obviously went into this with a closed mind. She didn't give a shit. She didn't even pretend to give a shit.
Well, this reminds me of the one that was writing the article on this new thing that apparently no one was aware of called cosplaying.
Yeah.
Which, my response still stands. Have you never heard of Halloween, bitch?
Well, here's the second paragraph. Unfortunately, not many people at PalmCon were interested in dressing up, and quite a few looked like they had stumbled inside on accident. They were probably pretty bummed out when they realized that they just paid $9 for access to a room in which the opportunity existed to access a smaller room and spend more money on terrible-looking pizza. Part of the post there, you know how sometimes it will interspace ads for different posts in between articles? Right here, it actually has a space that says, see also Ali Conti's response to the overwhelming negative reaction towards her PalmCon post.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I haven't clicked on it. I may later because, there was just a general amount of news. It was one of those things where I just don't understand. I mean, nobody is forcing you to report on nerd culture in general except for your editor. If you don't give a shit, at least talk to him and say, I don't want to go. Could you please send somebody else? In this case, just being acidic for the case of being a bitch, I don't get it.
You're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah. Some people just feel better about themselves for some reason for bitching about things.
Yeah, I mean, one of the few positive parts of the article was, that said, some people there were having a lot of fun. I don't understand it, but hey, I really wish stacks of old DuckTales comics were enough to shake me from my jadedness and misery.
I do too, because obviously it's fairly firmly stuck up your ass.
That is a hell of a visual. I don't want to see inside her Duckburg.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Steve.
What? Arguably something about her is attracting waterfowl. We've talked before about football and how some of the odd things seem to happen in it. I came across an article that is kind of in the what the fuck strain. There is a new rule that came out in Northern California Youth Football League. This stuns me. If a team is winning by more than 35 points in a game, the coach is fined $200.
Wait, what?
What?
If a team is winning by 35 points or more, those teams will be fined $200 and their coaches will be suspended from all league activities for 2 weeks. Do you know what kind of players play in this league?
Kids?
Ages 7 to 13.
Yeah.
Apparently, part of the article stated that there were some teams that were afraid to put out their kicker because those 3 points might actually put them above that 35-point limit. Literally, all their kickers do is place kicking the kickoffs.
That's insane.
It does, and I've tried going through this to figure out why you would do this, and the reason that the league put up was that there were too many players who were quitting when they were getting blown out, and they wanted to retain sportsmanship. Well, you would retain more sportsmanship if you keep the players that are sticking it through and let the ones who are not being sportsmen go.
Yeah. Not to mention, if you're really that worried, I mean, obviously, I don't know how their leagues are designed or anything, but redistribute players?
There's that. There's check the programs and see which coaches are doing well, reassign their assistants. There's the idea that you are holding back your star players because you don't want them to post up too many points and get you in trouble. There's so many things about this I don't like.
Yeah,
And
I remember when they made the rule for the soccer, the young age soccer, where if somebody's scored 2 points in a game, you have to either move them back to goalie or kick him out of the game because you couldn't have too many people scoring all the goals.
Yeah,
It's the same. It's the same type of situation. You're punishing good players for other lackluster people.
Yeah,
which
I played football in high school, man. The full year I got, we went 1-9, and I didn't like losing. But at the same time, I learned a lot about keeping my head up high. I learned how to take pride in myself, even though things were not going well. And all you're teaching these kids is that it's okay. Somebody's going to come in and back them up when things are absolute shit for them. That's not always true. Yeah.
When was the last time an inspirational movie came out?
Well, I think the Avengers came out last year, right?
That's not what I meant.
Oh.
What was that one about the Michael Orr? That one was pretty inspirational.
Oh, shit! I don't remember the name of it. The Blind Side.
Yeah.
Yes.
That wasn't too long ago.
That wasn't too bad. But I mean, there's also a pretty influential show on TV about a guy, doing everything for his family. What's it called? Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's inspirational.
Yeah, he works hard. And in other social news, remember last week we discussed how Pope Francis has made some very interesting comments about what the church needs to focus on instead of all the social issues?
Right.
He might be a bit two-faced. Last week he excommunicated a pro-gay marriage priest.
Whoops.
Yeah. Obviously there's not much to be said about the story because it kind of buried the lead in the title there. But obviously this is going to be something you have to pay attention to because he's not quite as liberal as all the speeches then.
Well, there's always political pressures.
There is, and maybe he's just appeasing the idiots, but it is kind of sad to appease the idiots by taking a priest and excommunicating him.
Yeah.
You could have thrown out some cardinals instead.
Yeah.
Hey, I know they're not supposed to earn money in religion, but I call bullshit when your city is made of frickin' gold, okay?
Oh, they totally... I'm not going to speak out. I don't know anything.
Okay. She's suddenly gone Colonel Klink. She knows nothing. Speaking of Breaking Bad, this was a great but sad story. Did you know that a young dying child changed the course of the series?
No.
Let me see. There was a 16-year-old who had cancer. He died in the spring, unfortunately. His name was Kevin Cordasco, and his make-a-wish was to visit the set of the show, and he got to speak to the creator of the show, Vince Gilligan. They offered to show him the last season of the show, because obviously they had most of it in the can by the spring. He declined. This kid wanted to see it organically as the rest of the country did, and obviously he unfortunately didn't live to see that. But at the same time, while he was on the set, Gilligan asked this kid, was there anything he felt was missing from the show? And he mentioned that he wanted to know more about Gretchen and Elliot, who were Walter White's partners in a startup company called Gray Matter. He said he wanted to know more about their backstory with him, and he wanted to know what happened to them. Because of his comments in the second to last and last episodes of the series, those characters are in the show again.
Wow.
He actually inspired them to try and add a little illumination to the main character's history. I mean, the kid unfortunately didn't get to see it, but when you think about it, he actually got to make a lasting impression on a show that is just almost universally acclaimed from top to bottom. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry you didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
We need more heartwarming stories.
Yeah.
Well,
In
somewhat heartwarming.
Well, in that vein, Piers Morgan from CNN says it's over for Jon Stewart.
Wait, what?
I know, we made a left there. Piers Morgan heard that Jon Stewart in The Daily Show did not win the Emmy for Outstanding Variety Show, and he claimed that Jon Stewart, a guy who's been very vocal about his displeasure with CNN's coverage of just about everything lately, said that obviously it's over for Stewart. His tweet said that it's over for Jon Stewart Stephen Colbert wins again. And it's the first year in 10 years that The Daily Show has not won the Emmy, which is a little sad. Here's the rub. The winner of the Emmy this year for Best Variety Series was Stephen Colbert. And what makes that funny is that Jon Stewart is an executive producer on the Stephen Colbert Show.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I was aware of that peripherally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost a spin-off of the Jon Stewart Show.
Yeah, they don't even they air after each other?
Yeah, they're sister shows. I mean, another tweet by Morgan was that if I were Jon Stewart, I'd stop obsessing with CNN and start worrying about the younger, funnier John Oliver getting his job. Well, obviously CNN has not listened to the man and done anything about their news research. You know, what the fuck? There's got to be better things for CNN to do than to poke at a guy who only pokes fun at them.
Especially when it's not their job.
I know. He's a comedian. It's not like he's actually reporting news. He's just reporting about the bullshit they come up with.
Yeah.
If you want him to stop coming up with bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too easy. Obviously, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aired this week.
Loved it.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
There were a couple things that came out in regards to the show. First of all, they're apparently using a super secret Marvel movie database. In other words, they're actually using information combined from the movies and combined from Marvel's library to come up with where this show is going, apparently.
Huh.
Nice.
Okay.
Somebody mentioned that they like to look at the show as Coulson's journey to the answer about his return as a sort of existential crisis with a Marvel twist. Nobody quite seems to know what exactly that means, but it's very curious. But they are going to mention in this season, definitively, what happened to Coulson and how he's back.
Gotcha.
I have my theories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure several of us do.
I have no clue.
Also, S.H.I.E.L.D. is TV's best drama debut in 4 years.
Wow.
They had a 4.7 rating with 12.1 million viewers, and they weren't even the biggest show to air that evening. NCIS edged them out.
Oh, I bet.
Yep.
They had
Because they were both on at the same time.
Well, wait. NCIS had 20 million viewers, but they had a 3.6 share of the rating. So, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. somehow got a higher rating, but they had less people watching. There's a secondary rub to this in that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did much better in the 18 to 49 demo, which is what TV follows the most of.
Mm.
Well, that makes sense.
So, apparently the people eating the tapioca tuned into NCIS. But,
Hey.
I was going to say, I
like
just had
tapioca.
tapioca the other day.
But other shows on at the same time, S.H.I.E.L.D. killed. I mean, they did way better than The Blacklist, Sleepy Hollow, and Hostages on 3 different networks.
And
Although I actually-
Blacklist and Sleepy Hollow are pretty good. I
Well,
enjoyed them.
well, the question is it started strong? Is it going to continue strong? Because
Yeah, that will
you
be
know,
the big question.
yeah, we've seen NBC shows like, or not NBC, we've seen similar shows like Heroes start out extremely strong, taper, and then suddenly tank.
Yeah, although again, that was
I like
partially the
Sleepy
writer's strike to blame there.
Yeah, that's true. But also in news on this series, Jim Steranko. He's a writer and artist who dealt heavily with the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. comics back in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He hates the show.
Really?
Yeah, they call this man very influential in taking Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. and turning it into what it became eventually. But the quote he said is, "The pilot assumes the audience is cognizant of the Marvel Universe as it regales viewers with salvo of references established previously in big-screen efforts. Granted, Avengers may be the 3rd highest-grossing flick of all time, but recalling the details of last year's favorite may be too much to expect above the fanboy level.
Ouch.
The show's creators have gone on record to point out that the series is about ordinary people, somewhat echoing the Hitchcock approach. Ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. Perhaps in this case, ordinary may not be enough to warrant audience interest today." He actually goes on. "Although Fury, like Batman and Bond, has no superpowers, he's clearly superhuman, irresistible, indomitable, invincible. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. opener would have benefited immensely from a 15-second cameo or even a damn phone call from Samuel L. Jackson's Fury." As he goes on, this sounds less like a critique and more like sour grapes.
Yeah.
In a way.
And insulting, because he's assuming that most of us can't remember, like, anything.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it did have a lot of references to the movieverse, but that wasn't that heavily advertised going in that they're bringing Agent Coulson from the movies to the TV series?
Yeah, I think that's kind of expected.
Yeah, you would think reference would be par for the course. But, I mean, he goes on. Could anyone understand the dialogue delivered by the S.H.I.E.L.D. lab team? Did anyone feel punted into PCville by the hooded hero being black? Fuck, what?
What?
He actually thought it was a PC item by the hooded hero being black. Meanwhile, the internet was saying, is this Luke Cage? Is this the Patriot? Is this some other Marvel hero that we're unaware of? Is this Battlestar? There could have been a host of Marvel heroes this could have been, but automatically he says, oh, fuck you for adding the minority.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, favorite 2 characters on that show? The science team.
Yeah. And he also has said, and did we really need the rampant dueling ideologies at the pilot's denouement? Doesn't everybody have dueling ideologies?
That's kind of the point. You have to have conflict between characters or it's not interesting.
Yeah, the 4 of us sit here and we have fairly similar ideas, but at the same time, we still argue with each other over little things. I mean, everybody has different ideologies.
Yep.
Yeah, this sounds more like, oh, fuck you for not including me.
Right, and plus, at least if I were a manager, I'd put different sciences with different ideologies because they might come up with different things. I mean,
and you know,
combinations and stuff.
I think they made comments that if Sam Jackson asked to have a walk-on role in the show, they will make room for it.
Obviously, they would have liked to have had him, but I think it would have cost a bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pilot. I'm not saying that we're not going to see Samuel L. Jackson sometime later as long as this keeps doing well. I actually probably think it's a little likely. But for a pilot, untested, no.
Yeah, I mean, I like where the show is going. Do I think there's room for improvement? Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but at the same time, Steranko is just, I don't know, maybe he needs to go back and have a meatloaf sandwich and calm down or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought it played to its strengths pretty well, but yeah, there is room for improvement. But
but it's a first episode. There's always room for improvement from a first episode.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting the stage right there.
Yeah, sometimes you don't realize how good something is until you've watched the whole season and go back and you're like, oh, they're setting up this and this and this and blah blah blah, and they have to explain that. And
let's see, Marvel is teasing apparently a bunch of new number 1s. There's been several teasers that Marvel's put out with a faded number 1 in the background, although what they are is open to interpretation. They're all 1 or 2 word teasers that say, in order, Trial, Judgment, Corporate, Rad, Global, and The End. The only thing that we've gotten coherently in all these is apparently all these teasers are going to be explained at the Astonishing X-Men panel going on at New York Comic-Con. Or, excuse me, the Amazing X-Men panel. The panel is October 13th at 4 p.m. Actually, I missed one. There's one that's called Mind Bubble. I'm a heavy Marvel fan, and I couldn't tell you what any of this stuff is about.
Huh.
Yeah, if somebody correctly predicts this, I will send you a box of Oreos, frankly, because you deserve a cookie.
But it better not be double stuffed, because apparently that's not double the stuffing.
what,
Man,
really?
you just gotta make everything harder, don't you?
I just found it quite amusing that a science class actually measured it out and realized that it wasn't double the stuff, and then complained about it. I was like, really?
My tax money should go to so many other places. While Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was going on, DC decided they weren't going to rest on their laurels. The WB announced that they have sold their show Gotham Central to, I believe, the WB.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Hold on. keep going.
Well, basically, it's supposed to be a pre-Batman Gotham where a young Detective Gordon is dealing with the issues as these odd criminals start popping up, like, you know, as you would imagine. I'm on the fence on this one because as much as I would like to see what Gotham is like without Batman, it's one of those cases where half the characters that subsequently came up because the Batman existed. It's kind of hard to explain why this guy dressed as a penguin is running around the city just blasting people with an umbrella if there isn't already a psycho in a bat cowl running around. Maybe it's just me.
I think they could have more interesting settings.
There's other places they could have done this. I mean, there's multiple fictional cities in DC. But obviously, Gotham is one of the few that everyone's going to recognize without having to look up some kind of encyclopedia.
It's true.
But it's going to, it's going to be on the WB. At the same time, they've sold another series to NBC. DC's character Constantine is going to have its own TV show.
Oh.
It's a character some people may be familiar with after the Keanu Reeves movie that came out a while ago. He's basically a supernatural detective trying to buy his way into heaven by banishing demons after he's found out he is definitively going to hell. It's another thing I'm on the fence about because that's with so many supernatural shows out there, including Supernatural, this may be a bit redundant.
Yeah, although I'm not sure how much longer Supernatural is going to be going on.
Well, it's being written and EP'd by the Mentalist executive producer Daniel Cerrone and David S. Goyer. Goyer does have a fair amount of success in TV, if I remember correctly.
And I did enjoy the Mentalist. I haven't watched it recently, but
I couldn't enjoy the show. It was psych without the jokes.
I don't know. I liked it.
It's my
I
opinion.
haven't seen it, so, but I probably would like it.
It's a fun one.
I've heard concerns that it might not be violent enough, or not necessarily violent, but dark enough.
You just have no joy in anything unless somebody opens an artery.
What? That's not true. I like Psych.
This is getting so odd. Have you guys heard of an actress named E.G. Daily?
No.
Yes.
Okay, she has appeared in a lot of stuff. She was in Valley Girl, the Kevin Smith movie. She was in Better Off Dead and Summer School. Most people who would recognize her would probably know her from Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. Do you remember the lady working in the bike shop in that movie, Dottie?
Nope.
She was this raspy voiced, very short lady. I think she's only like 4'11". She was really big in the 80s. She's also done some voice work. She was in Rugrats. She played Buttercup in the Powerpuff Girls.
Huh.
The reason why I bring all this up is she kind of surprised people because she had she was on the first round of The Voice, and she got CeeLo Green and somebody else to turn the chair. The guy who's won all the awards in that show. I don't remember his frickin' name. I don't watch it that well. But basically, as they were talking to her, Christina Aguilera thought they recognized her, and then she started bringing up her voice work and her movie credits, and most of the judges went bananas. I'll see if I can add a link. Hulu is a little bit temperamental. But it was just one of those things that came out of nowhere that was a fun surprise.
Yeah, I saw that article. That was neat.
And the co-writer of Superman Batman, David S. Goyer, we just spoke to about him.
Mm-hmm.
In response to a lot of people talking about the ending to Man of Steel, his response is that he thinks Superman should be able to kill.
I agree.
He certainly has the capability.
Well, we discussed that to no end. His quote was, in regards to the movies, we were pretty sure what was going to be We were pretty sure that was going to be controversial. It's not like we were deluding ourselves, and we weren't just doing it to be cool. We felt, in the case of Zod, we wanted to put the character in an impossible situation and make an impossible choice. This is one area, and I've written comic books as well, and this is where I disagree with some of my fellow comic book writers. Superman doesn't kill. It's a rule that exists outside the narrative, and I just don't believe in rules like that. I believe when you're writing film or television, you really can't rely on a crutch or rule that exists outside the narrative of the film.
I agree.
Well put.
Yeah, I watched the movie, and I'm not a Superman fan. It didn't do anything for me, but you gotta admit, it's not one of those situations where he can just speed past him and catch the laser. You're dealing with another character as fast as him, as strong as him, as powerful as him. There's really little choices unless you want to watch him slaughter everyone.
And honestly, I had no problem with that, to be honest.
Neither did I. It was just one of those moments. I mean, in the sequel, if they deal with that some, that would be helpful. It'd be nice to see kind of the fallout of him dealing with that moral choice, which he doesn't usually do in the comics, obviously.
Yeah.
Screw Attack reported on a picture that's kind of curious and is getting Mario fans in a tizzy. It's a simple picture that appears to be the hands of Mario and Princess Peach together as a ring is being put on her finger. So that's leading some people to believe that maybe in the next few games, Mario may finally stop his bachelor ways and get married.
Huh?
It's a big deal to some people. What can I say? I don't know how this is a big deal, but you gotta admit, some people take this stuff very seriously. They don't like changes.
Well, they do like changes.
I don't know. I mean, the hairy Italian guy suddenly settling down with a wispy, thin woman, and I'm just worried we'll find her in the ER. And Marvel announced that they're doing a new She-Hulk undated... wow.
Try again.
I don't know if I want to now. Marvel's announced they're doing a new ongoing She-Hulk series. It's going to launch in February 2014. It's going to use the writer Charles Soule, who has been on the Thunderbolts and Swamp Thing, and Javier Pulido, who's been working on Hawkeye, which is extremely critically acclaimed right now. I'm on the fence on this because as much as I enjoy the character in her series, because they're always a little left of center, sometimes they break the fourth wall, they just tend to be a kind of a silly take on comics. Not quite Deadpool, but comedic. At the same time, none of these series seem to last more than a few years because people just don't pick up on that. You know, I don't know if I want to get invested on another series that I feel is going to fail just because people won't understand the joke and won't buy it. But another thing that does make me curious, though, is they tend to write characters into their new series when they're about to appear in other media. So that makes me wonder if maybe the character, the She-Hulk, will appear in the Hulk film that's being considered by Marvel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's something to think about. Also in Marvel movie news, some people have been asking Terry Crews if he would play Luke Cage in a movie. And his response is that he's not interested.
Okay.
That's kind of surprising considering this is one of the guys in the Old Spice commercials, tall, muscular, black. He almost looks like him just standing there. But as he puts it, well, first of all, I'm trying to take myself out of that running. I am batting 1,000 tonight. And he says it's because everyone's like, I want to play this superhero character, that superhero character. I'd rather make up my own, make a brand new one, you know? I think everyone is forcing this Power Man Luke Cage thing. Man, it's obvious Marvel, for some reason, is not getting down with it. He's being ignored. So, the way he's talking, he has an interest in seeing it, but he has no interest in being in it.
He would much rather star in something original.
Yeah, that's his take. Who knows? Maybe if that Heroes web series takes off on Xbox Live, he can end up there.
Hmm.
And I just got a text from my wife that is very confusing.
Uh-oh.
It says, quote, "Is it a good thing that I have studied so well, I have chicken vaginas running through my mind?" She's taking a class regarding taking care of poultry for her barnyard veterinary classes. I'm sure this has something to do with it, but at the same time, I'm afraid to ask.
There's an episode of Dirty Jobs you need to see.
No, I'm sure there isn't.
I'll just chalk it up to being ginger.
So you think she's eating the souls of chickens?
It could be a good substitute.
Well, she is finger-licking good. I'll have to revisit that. You guys know I've been on a kick about retro gaming and trying to rebuild my library of classic video games.
Uh-huh.
Hyperkin has put out something that is it's making me pee a little. They put out what they call the Retron 5. It combines 10 consoles into one. It's going to be put out December 10th. It is going to be $99.
Damn.
Here's what you can plug into it. Cartridges for the Super Nintendo. I'm sorry. Let me start over. Cartridges for the NES, Famicom, Super NES and Famicom, Sega Master System, Genesis, Mega Drive, Game Boy Original, Color, and Advance.
Wow.
Damn.
It is going to be out for 89.99 euros, and in the US for $99.99. It has ports for controllers for all of the systems I just named as well.
Very nice.
It's not the best looking thing I've ever seen, but if it can actually pull off all this, I am so down.
Yeah.
I think they already have a sale.
Not only that, it has HDMI plugs in the back.
Nice.
Very nice. So I could actually plug this into my TV and play my Genesis games.
From what
I'm gonna have to borrow Shining Force 2 from you again.
From what I've read, it will actually upconvert the video to make it large screen as well. So this thing does everything that a classic gamer could ask.
Oh, very nice.
Careful, Steve. Don't splooge on the screen.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining, because I was just talking with Jesse about this the other day, just listing off all my NES games that I still have. And he's like, oh, I haven't heard of this one. I haven't heard of this one. I'm just like, if I get that, he will.
Well,
there we go.
$100 come Christmas, dude, and you can play them all.
Wow.
Well, Joss Whedon has mentioned how he thinks the Avengers could have been better, and he talked about his plans for Age of Ultron. He talked to ScreenRant.com. One of the quotes was, "When I think of a great film, I think of something that's either structured so perfectly like The Matrix or made so lovingly like The Godfather Part 2. There was haphazardness in the way it comes together, not just the people," of course he's talking about the Avengers right now, "but the scenes. I don't think you look at it and go, this is a model of perfect structure. You go, this is working. I like it, I'm proud of it, and I like its imperfections. The thing I cared most about, making a summer movie like the ones from my childhood, is the thing that I pulled off."
Nice foundation.
It makes the most sense. I mean, there are a few things that were wrong with the movie, not a lot, but at least he recognizes it, and that gives me hope that when it comes to the sequel, he knows how to improve it, and we're going to get something really great.
Yeah, and most of the commentaries that I've watched with him on, he's usually pretty like, this is what we did wrong. This is what I wish had gone better.
Yeah.
So,
Harsh, isn't he?
Well, when he talks about the Age of Ultron, he says, quote, "I want to be clear about how I engage the audience and where I take them. I want more control visually, more time to prep it. Not that I didn't dictate every shot, I did, but there's only so much you can do when you're making a summer film when the ball is already rolling as fast as it is when I got in. Why do it again if you can't do it better?" Unquote.
Again, makes sense.
Yeah. And some people have mentioned that he is very likely to kill a character in Avengers 2. He even addressed that, where he says, quote, "I'd have to have a really good reason, a really great sequence for Marvel executives to go, we'll cut off a potential franchise. That's fine. They know, as any good studio does, that without some stakes, some real danger, how involved can we get? We don't just rule it out across the board, but neither is the mission statement, who can we kill? We try to build the story organically and go, how hard can we make it on these people? You go to the movies to see people you love suffer. That's why you go to the movies," end quote.
It's watching the character deal with all the problems. It's reason why. I'm reiterating what you just saying.
It's
right now,
okay. I know how we've talked about how DC has to be pissed that they didn't use the Wonder Woman script he wrote for them years ago. At this point, I think I'd like to upgrade and say I'm pretty sure that guy must have killed himself. I'm sorry, man, but they missed out on a guy who is that meticulous that could have been producing their movies years ago and gotten everything on track to the point where everyone's asking who the Avengers are instead of where are they. They dropped the ball.
They clean up that red stain real quickly.
And we still got the Green Lantern. Let's see. Sue DeConnick is a notable, Kelly DeConnick. She's a notable female writer who's currently working at Marvel. And she is actually getting a small group of female Avengers together for a story in the Avengers Assemble series. Spider-Girl, who is obviously a young Spider-Man type of character, comes to them and asks for the team for help. But apparently most of them are pretty busy with something else and relatively ignore her. The only ones that don't ignore and offer to help are the Black Widow and Spider-Woman. So, as she puts it, as of Avengers Assemble 21 and 22, it's going to be the adventure of the Spider Ladies.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a female team of Avengers, it's spiders.
Well, not all of them. I mean, Spider-Man's still an Avenger, but this is specifically the women, at least the Spider-Women, going at it.
Phrasing.
Yeah, that was kind of terrible. Yeah. Suddenly I have an image of arms and legs tangled together, and I'm not sure I'm sorry.
Oh, stop it.
Changing gears, the Batman-Superman movie may be further along than fans think, according to ScreenRant.com. David S. Goyer, we've said that name a lot, he gave a quote that says, "One of the things that has been fun for us is we're a bit further along than what people, I think, realize. From a fan point of view, we're conscious that when you're working on these things, you can't let yourself be paralyzed. At the end of the day, you still have to create something. And if you try and think, well, what would the fans like, then you stop being creative. It's sort of like, where does it end? You have to write the story you want to write and hope that people want to see it."
Wish they did that for the third X-Men film.
Yeah, there's arguments for and against that sentiment because, I mean, obviously the artist has to do what they like, but at some point you still have to market it to somebody.
Hope you have good taste.
There you go.
Again, I wish they did it for the third X-Men film.
Not gonna let that nut go, eh?
Holding on to that one.
Just gonna stuff it in your cheeks and keep it with you. The Arkham Origins video game from the Batman series that Warner Interactive has put out comes out this month, I believe.
Ooh.
They have a season pass where obviously you don't have to pay any additional to get DLC. Here's the kicker. If you get the season pass, you will have access already to 12 alternative costumes for the character. That includes the Red Sun Batman, the Flashpoint Batman, the 1966 Batman, the Year One Batman, 2 skins for Robin, the Gaslight Batman, or the Gotham by Gaslight Batman, I should say, and the White Lantern Batman. The fuck,
White
people?
Lantern?
Yeah, I'm not asking any more questions beyond that. You can get the season pass for $19.99, but you still have to pay the $60 to get the game. Also, if you get the season pass, it has a promise to access a yet unannounced chapter of the game. They're guessing it may be similar to the Harley Quinn's Revenge for Arkham City.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of paying that much for DLC. Maybe I'll just make for the Game of the Year edition. They tend to have everything shoved on one disc for $20 then.
Yeah.
Also in DC video games news, there was an infographic that came out that talked about Scribblenauts Unmasked, where you can you're playing Scribblenauts, but you can write in DC character names and you can use them throughout the game.
Oh,
Here's
I
an
was wondering what that
example.
was about.
Here's an example. In the game, you have access to 1,050 heroes, 650 villains, 65 weapons, 202 lanterns, 42 vehicles, 22 different versions of Superman, and 247 objects.
22 different versions of Superman. That's... wow.
Yeah. And when they say objects, they mean things like Booster Gold's little AI friend Skeets, Batarangs, and Red Lantern rings. Some of the weapons you can use are Kryptonite, Stargirl's Cosmic Rod, or the Green Arrow boxing glove.
Great for the kids.
I've heard some really good things about this game. I don't own anything Scribblenauts could be played on.
What's it?
I think that's a Nintendo series.
Scribblenauts? Oh.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll look that up while I go through this. Electronic Arts has lost a license to their NCAA football series. The 2014 game will be the last. They've gotten into trouble because apparently there's a lawsuit going on concerning the NCAA and former college players where they have not compensated them for use of their image. Prior to announcing that that they're not putting out the games, they already lost the NCAA brand as well as multiple conferences and a few of the schools, so they couldn't produce another one anyway. I don't quite know what to say about this because the NCAA has never paid their players to begin with, at least not officially. So why the hell should they be paid for their time in college football? And whether or not they should be paid is a different argument. I would argue that these college players deserve to be paid, whether playing a game that's making millions for the schools, but they risk their lives every play. But at the same time, if they're not paid by the colleges, why should the game have to pay them? You guys can argue it any way you want. I just don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Yeah, it's creating a giant syntax error in my brain. I think I'm about to blue screen. And I have another what the fuck story here.
Oh.
Walmart has taken what people have called a scandalous kids costume off the
Oh,
shelves.
yes.
I saw that article today.
Yeah, I don't get why people are so damn oversensitive. The picture of the
Because
costume.
people are damn oversensitive.
Yeah, it's a little girl in a black dress, full skirt. It has a purple leopard print in several places, including the collar and the thread in the front of this thing. It has little leopard ears. It's a cute picture. Apparently people hated the fact that this thing on shelves was called the Naughty Leopard costume.
Right. It's word association.
Yeah, I get how people take that the wrong way, but just because adults are sick bastards doesn't mean kids, A, can't have fun in this little costume, and B, they have a different context for naughty than we do, so why should we associate it to them?
I think it's just that the word naughty is pretty heavily associated with naughty.
Yeah, but I mean,
Find me a word that isn't.
Yeah, everything
true.
is a euphemism for sex these days, and at the same time, when kids hear that they've been naughty, they're not stripping.
No.
They're
You know-
usually running and crying.
Yeah, they're running for that corner before Daddy comes after them with a paddle.
Yeah.
See, now that I've said that, some of you are thinking something sexual right now. And shame on all of you.
I wasn't.
Congratulations, people.
In
You
that
are
same-
normal.
In that same article, they also said that 2 places in Europe had to pull a psycho ward and a mental hospital patient costumes because of they packaged it with bloody weapons,
Yeah,
which people were saying like, oh well, now you're linking violence with mental illness and so forth. So they ended up having to pull those costumes as well.
Yeah, fuck them. I'm sorry, but sooner or later, if we're not going to laugh at ourselves, we're just going to cry all the time.
Yeah.
I found something interesting via Kotaku. There's a DeviantArtist named Dirk Lochel, who has a shitload of time on his hands. I say that because on his account, he put up a graphic that I would like to see as a poster. The problem is that this would be a huge fucking poster. What he did was he took ships from several notable sci-fi enterprises. Star Wars, Star Trek, EVE Online, Independence Day, Titan AE, Robotech, and Battlestar Galactica, and obviously numerous others. What he did was he put these ships together in one poster at scale. I don't mean one-to-one scale. He put them at scale to each other, and this thing is fucking huge. He went so far as to get Robotech ships in it.
With the mile-long SDF one.
The SDF one wasn't shit compared to half the things on this piece of paper.
True, but
Well, most
yeah.
of the biggest things were from Eve.
Yeah, Eve apparently has incredible scale, although I think by far the largest ship overall was the mothership from Independence Day. But at the same time, this is an amazing project, and I don't know how much time this man has on his hands. I don't know how much money he has, but fucking awesome on this guy. Gigantic cojones. I'll have to just post a link because there's no way that I can put a picture anywhere on the website that'll have anything close to meaning on it. He didn't just put the ships down there. He listed where the ships were from, their class, and their overall size. He actually did the work.
Yeah, I've seen that. I swear I've seen that a long time ago. Is that just recently,
It was something
reposted?
recently posted on Kotaku, so it may just be coming back around in the news cycle. But
Yeah, I
I mean,
think so.
something Steve will recognize is that they even had the Tyrolean colonies Azashar motherships.
Really?
Yeah.
They
This
had Red Dwarf on there.
Yeah. Like I said, this guy did an amazing amount of work. It is worth checking out if you're a long-term fan of sci-fi. And there was an article I posted a link to on the Facebook about the 10 most absurdly powerful Pokemon in existence. The list has a lot of bizarre things in it, and it's one of those things where you apply real science to what they've written down in the Pokemon games, and you're really astonished that the world hasn't ended in fire. Oh, I mean, they have one character. They have it's called the Magcargo. It's obviously a snail that looks like it's on fire. Its body temperature is approximately 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the game description. Water's vaporized on content. The thing is, though, as the writer of the article, Andrew Bridgman for Dorkly.com puts it, the surface of the sun is approximately 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which means this thing is nearly twice as hot as the sun! As he puts it, Magcargo, he says, quote, that Smash Mouth song, Might As Well Be Walking on the Sun? That's more realistic than being anywhere near Magcargo, since this lava slug thing is literally almost twice as hot as the freaking sun! Soul! The center of our solar system is pretty damn chilly compared to this single individual Pokemon. Although, just to test it out, we should probably send the members of Smash Mouth to confirm. And he had 9 other examples of all these Pokemon that are so absurdly powerful that it boggles the mind that anybody survived, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, since when did we have the technology to throw these little red and white balls at something almost twice the heat of the sun and contain that?
I don't know. You've seen the demonic Pikachu. You try explaining this shit to me.
It's just...
Sounds like some mistranslation there.
Yeah.
I still...
no, it's not a mistranslation. It's literally somebody who wrote it without any kind of scientific knowledge.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this sounds like a cool number.
Yeah. Oh, this sounds hot. Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, there are Pokemon out there who can actually see their own future and their own demise coming. I mean, there are several things that if you read through and actually spend time thinking about it, it's both depressive, sick, and mind-boggling.
Well, not to mention the fact that, okay, this thing can see its future, see its own demise coming, but it couldn't predict getting hit with a little white and red ball?
Well, maybe it didn't. Maybe it just said, well, this is better than waiting for death.
I guess. I don't know. Yes! Finally, gladiatorial combat against others of my kind and others of, this oppressed, cutesy race, well, at least I get to spend my time doing something.
Well, do you guys want one more example before we go on?
Okay. Sure.
The number 9 on this list was Matang. The game description, according to Fire Red, is it floats in midair using magnetism. Its body is so tough, even a crash with a jet plane won't leave a scratch. That's when the writer takes over. If a jet plane won't leave a scratch after crashing into you, that's coming very close to saying you're completely invincible. But what's more disturbing about this is that the entry indicates that jet planes hitting Matang and exploding is something that isn't uncommon. And given that magnetism is a big part of its existence, it's probably drawing those jet planes into it just because it can. Given jet planes typically fly at speeds over 500 miles per hour, weigh around 400,000 pounds, and have a fuel capacity of around 50,000 gallons, Matang's walking away without so much as a scratch is pretty horrifyingly powerful. So, maybe throw out something other than a big butterfly when fighting this thing. I'll make sure to add a link because all those are... Yeah, they're equally horrifying but funny.
I still need to find that article that somebody posted about all of the different Justice League people and
oh God, yeah,
the Aquaman, having cans of tuna in his cell because he was captured so often so he wouldn't get lonely. that was horrible but awesome.
Well, pushing forward, Tom Hiddleston has mentioned that if he is cast in another Thor movie, he would like to see Loki get lucky. His push
I'm sure
was...
a lot of ladies would like that, too.
Well, apparently when he was first reading the comics, the relationship with the Enchantress was one of the really fun things he would like to see on the screen. The Enchantress is another character from the Thor comics who is magic and tends to fuck with Thor's life just because it's entertaining. There's sometimes where she has a romantic relationship with Loki or Thor. For some reason I want to say both, but I don't think that's the case. But basically he's looking to add another leg to this if somebody's interested in bringing him back, and judging by the state of women's panties whenever they see him, I'm sure somebody would like to put him back on the screen.
My question is, does that mean that they're going to bring in the Executioner?
That's a good question. Also in Marvel movie news, they finally officially released the trailer that was shown for Age of Ultron at San Diego Comic-Con. So it's not... you don't have to look it up and find out it's been taken down 10 minutes after it was posted. You can actually find it now on YouTube. And, wow, I had one more window here for news, and I suddenly closed it without thinking. Marvel has announced that they're doing a Phantom X Max series. The most confusing character from X-Force, and that's my personal opinion, is getting an HBO-style James Bond sci-fi pulp comic book series.
No, I'm done. No.
Okay, I'll leave
I'm sorry. The moment he started dating himself, it was just no.
Wait, what?
You explained it. I'm tired.
Apparently, he had 3 personalities in his head, one of which was female, and when they fixed him, Due to Deadpool's interference, he got 3 separate bodies for each of those personalities, and the one that Psylocke was dating started dating his female self.
Nice.
And I just skimmed over that part of X-Force.
I just listened to Steve describe that, and it sounds like a storyline of the World Wrestling Federation. We'll go ahead and push through here because we decided to do pop culture profiling this week, and we have 8 disparate personalities that we're going to eviscerate.
Hey, I found that list.
I already have it typed down. The first one we have on this list is the Taskmaster. Now, this is an odd power set because he has what's called photographic reflexes. What that means is any move he sees, whether it be in real life, via TV, or even if he reads it, he can replicate it in real life without practice.
Even replicate it if you fast forward through the video.
Yes.
Yep.
This is one of those powers that's not flashy. It's not going to get you into the bank vault without at least a gun.
I don't know. If he can replicate any move that he sees, then I can see him pulling off a Shoryuken or a Hadouken and blowing open a bank vault.
I'm sure there's limits to that, because if that was possible, he would have replicated the X-Men years ago.
True enough.
You know, this has to do with physical. It's all about muscle memory. So he may be able to fight like the best in the world. It is a question as to his reflexes as well. But it's not one of those skills that inherently lends itself to overpowered villainy like we've discussed so often.
It actually sounds like a really cool power, something I'd like to have.
Yeah, but I mean, this is something that could lend itself to creating yourself as a new personality, as a professional athlete of some sort.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, that could equate all the way down to race car driving, technically. What would be the applications of something like that?
Again, any physical sports, or hell, even bodyguard work, or protection services.
Oh, that could be. You would have to watch an awful lot of Bruce Lee movies.
I don't know. Sometimes that's a punishment, sometimes not.
Yeah. I guess technically you could also be a professional stuntman or movie star as long as you're not butt ugly.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Steve Buscemi's butt ugly. He makes it work. But I mean, if you want to look at it on the bright side, you will have the most popular social life ever because you watch a few pornos and you can create orgasms like that.
It's what I was just kind of...
I wasn't going along those lines, but I figured you can make a lot of YouTube videos.
Well, I was just thinking about that new movie that's coming out where the guy is trying to make his sex life work like porn videos or whatever.
Oh, you mean that Don John movie? Or
Yeah.
So it just...
That sounds implausible.
Written by the guy that played the Batman replacement.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes.
We're off topic.
We are, but again, that's what it brought to mind.
Yeah, I don't quite know what someone will be able to do with this power when it relates to everyday life. And keep in mind, for those who haven't heard this before, we're trying to discuss what these powers would be like in the hands of an average person without all the baggage that creates superheroes or supervillains, and obviously without the battles to submit to. We're talking about what would happen if a normal schlub was the only powered person in the world and they happen to get this as their ability.
Yeah, honestly, to be quite honest, I could just... You would be Bo Derek, but successful.
Bo Derek? The supermodel?
Bo knows, Bo does everything. He played, baseball, basketball, football.
Dude, that's Bo Jackson!
Oh.
Bo Derek was the blonde lady with the cornrows that was in 10, and, she was Rain Dudley Moore. You threw me so badly there. And you said when Bo Derek could hit the ball and, play football, it's like, she did what?
Okay, so I'm...
Now I gotta find a picture of Bo Derek so people know why I'm confused.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with Steve. That person would lend himself to be just an awesome athlete.
Yeah, assuming that he didn't have his leg, accidentally severed by one of the accidents that could happen in sports.
Well, again, if you have that superior... because here's the thing. This is a person that's watching these things and is somehow... if he watches a gymnast, he can somehow pull off gymnast moves, but yet he's not suffering the muscle pain and so on and so forth for not having, stretched out and gotten his body to the ability to do said moves, then if he suffers a sports injury, I think he would still be okay.
Oh, what were you going to say, V?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if this power came with that, it seems like kind of almost magic. I have to say, if
Well, the thing is, even Taskmaster would actually get winded if he actually fought long enough and did certain techniques too fast.
Well,
He's still limited to his
physical capability of pulling off, like, say, Spider-Man or, someone with an enhanced level of agility even beyond what a normal human could do, he can actually pull off. It may wind him after a little while, but, I mean, this is a level of musculature, thank you, that isn't quite normal.
Well, how about
we basically a shape changer?
Maybe,
No.
But how about we add a new wrinkle to this? There was a mini-series that added a new aspect to his powers.
Ooh.
He can learn new moves at the cost of his long-term memory.
Ooh.
Not enough of a cost.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he... To sidetrack this a little bit, the character in the comics doesn't remember he's married and he used to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Oh. Well, that's no good.
So, long-term memory or short-term memory?
long-term.
A little bit of both. Basically, as he fills up with his brain with moves, he has to ditch memories to make room for those. And it's not voluntary as to which memories he keeps.
Yeah, see, that's the rub. If you could, forget all of the embarrassing moments in your life and keep the good ones, I'd be like, sign me up.
I remember that naked picture of me. No, ditch that. I want to know how to throw a football. It is one of those scary things.
Mom comes in, remember that time? No, I don't.
Yeah, but it is one of those scary things where you could watch like a bunch of tapes, get prepped for the next week's game. You've got everything you need to know. You know how to read the defenses. You come in and can't remember what half your teammates' names are.
Or where the field's at.
Or who these people are.
Why you even learned it.
Yeah.
Or what you learned.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if this is progressive and it's one of those things where maybe somebody with these powers could accidentally pick up things as they go along, like he's walking along and he suddenly knows how to trim the stems on flowers. He knows how to drive a car a little slower. He suddenly knows how to tend a lawn. By the time he gets to old age, he could end up similar to an Alzheimer's patient, but he's sitting there perfectly folding little paper origami.
Yeah.
I don't think it would take him to old age before he got crazy.
Probably not, but I'm just giving that as an example. By the time he got there, he'd have almost no memory whatsoever of just about anything useful. But
he can still kick your ass.
You can still program your
Yeah.
VCR.
I don't think he would. I think that kind of person would probably end up being like a beggar.
Well, he could just wind up as being a recluse,
Yeah.
Makes his money early on and then realizes the problem and withdraws from society, and
Hermit.
lives as a hermit just to...
And one day he goes to an ATM and goes, "Holy shit, I'm rich!"
Had to wait about 1,000 years for that to happen.
It's one of those things that it would have its happy times, but it would quickly turn sad, I would think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you could control what you learn, and especially if you didn't have the overpowered, like you could do literally everything that you see, I think it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
You could even be a surgeon.
Yeah, exactly. That would very quick, very successful surgeon.
Yeah, but
You would know how to do all the motions. You won't have this the knowledge of what you're doing.
It would be dependent.
Yes, but
It would be dependent on being able to be very selective about what you learn, and that's given the idea that you would have an idea of what the downside of all this is.
Right.
yeah.
Well, let's move on because that one is it's a lot simpler than it sounds. Shadowcat was brought up. This is the power of being able to phase through solid objects, being able to walk through, and being able to carry objects and people along as long as they're in physical contact.
As well as being extremely hazardous to all electronic material.
Yeah, as someone with this power moves through electronics, it instantly disrupts them. This is one of those powers that could turn an honest person very dishonest.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There ain't a bank vault in the world that's going to stop you.
Yeah. There's nothing stopping you from getting anything and everything you want. I mean,
I think the
whoever
the
you want.
material that she has problems phasing through is adamantium because it's just so dense.
That's not even
do
a
it.
real thing.
Yeah, that's not exactly something you find in the real world, so I don't think we need to talk about that.
True, but I mean they're coming up with new kinds of polymers and different types of materials and everything every day almost.
Yeah,
so.
but those polymers are always given towards lighter to make it easier on engines instead of denser.
Yeah.
So they have to come up with a whole new material to combat this.
Possibly. The fact that she disrupts machinery as she walks through it lends credence to the idea that this isn't exactly spacing out her molecules as a lot of people think it is. It's molecular polarization. In other words, she is creating a magnetic field around her that causes molecules of anything she tries to walk through to have the same polarization as her so she can slide in between them instead of just pass around them.
Yeah.
So, in this case, you would almost ask if you could stop somebody like this by being able to create a constant magnetic field around whatever area you're trying to protect.
Ooh, that's a cool idea.
Mm.
And there are a few things that have similar things already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Although again, it kind of makes you wonder because I don't know what strength magnetic field we've actually been able to pull off. So you would eventually have to work on, at least I would assume, strengthening these magnetic fields to a point where she couldn't pass through.
well, we already do have EM generators. If you set it on a pulse, you could definitely disrupt them as they try to pass through.
Well,
Which
that could work, but
which
then,
would be lethal.
yeah.
You know, that again has to deal with the idea that you know what you are dealing with. But you know, this is. Yeah, there is... I like to think of myself as a fairly honest person. If I had these powers, I would be a dick.
Yes.
You know, I would be that guy that drives the car through the window just because I could get away with it and nobody would know where I've gone or how I got the car out. You know, my room would be full of cutting-edge shit that I got at 4 in the morning.
Yep. Me too.
You know, and everyone would assume it's an inside job because I broke no doors.
Yeah, if this power could somehow come with an inability to be seen on camera or something, it would be damn near perfect. But
Yeah.
That's what the hood's for.
Actually, you could probably get away unseen. Just come through the floor.
True.
True.
You know, be really confusing and just phase a rope and drop it through the ceiling, wrap it around something, and pull it up. See what I mean? This power just lends itself to dickishness.
Yeah,
Yes.
honestly, I mean, even if you didn't want to be like, you know, some kind of career criminal, just the pranks that you could pull.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, what's that on your chest? That's me!
It gives a whole new meaning to invading personal space.
Really? Hey, what's in your pocket? That was in my back pocket. Oh, yeah, I know. Ew. You know, the other frustration about this is unless, like, you know, solid is your default mode, could you imagine how frustrating sex would be?
I hope that solid would be default.
You know, you're sitting there going at it, and all of a sudden your partner disappears, and you have no idea why.
Oh, wait a minute, but doesn't she... Do you take them with you?
That's a possibility.
I guess it depends on whether or not you wrap your legs around the person.
That could just be really, really weird and existential.
Or you could accidentally end up with your dick faced into the mattress.
Oh, ow.
Oh my god.
The imagery.
I don't know. The world moved, literally. I wound up downstairs.
Wow, I know she said that she was leaving when we're done. I thought she'd wait for me to get done. God damn it. You always want that story where you told the bitch to get out, she beat you to it. Yeah, this is one of those powers that's almost instant villain fodder.
Mm.
Another character we decided to discuss was Cyborg.
Ooh.
This is the DC character that's recently in Justice League. Obviously, he was unwillingly attached to several pieces of technology to keep him alive. And it came with a sonic cannon, several sensors, the ability to hack into machinery. On the surface, I think this would be resentful.
Yes.
Obviously...
I think of as cool.
Well, I mean, to one of those people that's unwillingly bonded to these things, assuming that's the same kind of circumstances, there's very few people who would look at this and just go, I am awesome! A lot of people would look at it and go, where's my dick?
Wait, did he not have one anymore?
I would assume if he did, it's buried under machinery right now, because there's not a way to access most of these things without ripping apart panels.
Ah.
The classic depiction of the character, assuming we're following that, is that only half his head and maybe like parts of his arms are visible.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, okay, that would be a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he has to have some sort of internal organs to be able to keep his brain functioning, but everything else would be just window dressing.
Yeah, that would be dehumanizing quick.
Yeah. Well, I think there are studies that have said when you take away the brain's ability to interact with all 5 of the senses, the remaining senses can get stronger, but at the same time, the brain starts overdeveloping emotional responses to compensate for the loss. Something like this, I mean, I can only imagine what someone's responses would be.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I can really think that he retains, one, sight, hearing, smell, but touch would be kind of...
Touch would be gone, and taste would be dodgy, because that's hooked into smell, and God knows what that's going to be processed through.
Yeah, I mean, just with the amount of metal that is on your body, around your face and whatnot, you probably feel like you're eating coins all the time.
Yeah, and despite all this new power, unless you're constantly saving people, human interaction is going to be difficult, if not impossible, because we've discussed how society doesn't deal very well with different.
Yeah.
They might start treating him like Data as kind of less than human. Like, not intentionally, but... Like, oh, it's our favorite pet cyborg kind of thing.
Right. I mean, even if he was saving people on a regular basis, sooner or later when he shows up, they're not going to say, we're glad you're here. The response is going to be closer. What kept you?
Yeah. And eventually he's going to go psycho. Feels like there's a movie like this that I've seen.
I'm thinking the same thing. I just can't think of it.
There's someone that was a hero, and everyone was really grateful, and then eventually he was just...
Are we talking the Nolan Batman films, or...
No. It was not.
Hollow Man?
No.
The Incredibles?
No. I haven't seen that.
Oh, really? I would recommend.
Yet. I will see.
I would recommend.
My Girlfriend is a Superhero?
I'll think about it sometime later and then be like, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Well, we threw out a bunch of good allegories anyway. Yeah, I mean, despite the weaponry and the strength, this would be a hellish existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even get yourself off. That's just...
You can get others off. There may be pistons in those fingers.
Pistons in the fingers or some other piston somewhere else. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's still...
This would be even worse from the female standpoint. I mean, this almost reminds me of the joke in Archer where his cyborg girlfriend's vagina was removable and she was washing it off in the sink. God, you would think in real life, does that mean somebody would have to jam a fleshlight between their legs?
Awful. Yeah, or just become asexual.
I mean, I guess the only advantage to a female version of this would be that the technology in breast implants has come a long way.
and fleshlights.
Yeah, I think this would just be mind-bending. Let's move on to something probably happier, and that would be the powers of Angel. We're not going to deal with the Archangel Apocalypse twisted me and gave me metal wings, and now I fly at Mach 2.
Oh, but that was the cool part of his powers.
Well, maybe we'll delve into that later, because that's just so unlikely to happen to somebody. We're going for the route of the regular Angel. This is a man who could fly limited super strength. Do we want to say that the looks happen to come with the powers?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So, these powers are relatively pedestrian to what we discussed, but I think somebody with this group of abilities would be a much happier person in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically be a super-powered firefighter, or...
I'd be afraid of getting those. I would think somebody would be afraid of getting those feathers on fire.
Yeah.
I was just picking the first thing. Well, I mean, you could fly up to high stories.
Honestly, the
without...
first thing that came to my mind with the Angels power set is church.
No, that would be too stupid, frankly. Because
no, you could totally. Depend on your backstory, though. Your backstory.
It depends on how much you want to take advantage of people.
If you think about it, this would also make the perfect atheist, because they could fly up to the upper atmosphere and go, "Hey, there's nothing up here!"
Well, no, I think they'd totally be atheists, but they would, take advantage of their appearance to get people to...
The thing is, though, with this group of powers, it's not like you necessarily have to do anything special. I mean, for the most part, your powers are the wings, and that could just save you on gas.
Well, this is true, but you still have the freak factor going on to it. I mean, this is assuming that you avoid, winding up in some freak show somewhere or something like the man with the wings, the bearded lady, and so on and so forth. But, yeah. I mean, it would be a little awkward, you're trying to go out and get some kind of everyman job, work in an office. Well, now you got to get a special chair because your wings aren't exactly going to fit on some of these things, not to mention they get in the way and... you
can be the one to wash
There's a lot of things that could help, though. I mean,
such as we're trying to come
do a
up
lot
with
of good, but at the same time, if you tried to pull off being like the everyday kind of average Joe guy and not do anything with them, I don't know.
It wouldn't work. Yeah, but he could do really, 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 really well in the military.
That's true. I mean,
As a scout.
Yeah, he would be a drone that creates no engine noise. Somebody would be listening, and all they say is that a bat? What the hell is that?
Yeah, I wouldn't think... I don't know exactly how radar works. If they pick up smaller things, or...
They can.
They can, but usually they have a certain height that they work at.
Yeah. But, I mean, I would think a woman with this power set would probably do pretty well for herself.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I thought of that I know a lot of people wouldn't consider is that somebody like this wouldn't necessarily have to go out. If she took a bunch of pinup style photos, not undressed or anything, but she could turn into a new virtual idol, frankly.
Yeah, that's true.
People would be asking her how she created those wonderful wings, and she would never have to answer them.
And this is, of course, also assuming that you could hide your wings as well as apparently he could when he was young. Some kind of strap system or whatever.
It was a combination of
painful, though.
According to the way the comics described it, it was a combination of straps and the fact that the wings, despite their form, were very flexible, so they could hide under a suit jacket type of item.
Yeah. Well, it would also depend on if she actually, or he or she actually had wings of a sufficient to carry.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it was somehow magically empowered or whatever.
Well, if you consider the way that it was written, the angel powers came with a certain degree of super strength because obviously, one, he has to carry himself aloft, and then
right.
Two, because of the musculature involved in flying, that carries over into the entire body because you have to keep your abdominal and chest tense. You have to be able to keep your arms aloft and legs instead of just letting them dangle as your wings carry you around.
But the thing is,
I honestly think he would...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I think he would have some kind of enhanced senses as well, just to be able to... I mean, if you're flying that fast...
He would have to have some sort of different breathing kind of thing, especially.
Maybe. And considering that the comics always show him without anything on his face, that would mean that his eyes have some kind of extra layer to him, I would imagine.
Yeah, he'd have the nictating membrane.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some of the things he could do speak right.
Obviously, I'm not the only one with a problem, so this is entertaining to me.
He could be a skydiving instructor.
That would be kind of nifty.
I don't think about him being a delivery guy in New York City.
Just be careful, they have a lot of anti-pigeon stuff going on there.
Yeah, I would kind of worry about the size of the poop that ended up on my car.
Well, you could do it in LA then.
I guess the other leg of this question is... I mean, I guess it isn't a question of how someone like this would have sex. My question would be how the partner would react to having sex with someone like this.
It depends on what fetish they have.
Oh.
Could they do it in the sky?
Huh. I imagine
At least on the rooftop.
that would be a lot of tangled limbs to pull that off as flying or while flying.
I read a story involving a dragon once that was intriguing.
I don't want to hear it.
I'm curious, but it's not quite the time for it. I mean, it's one of those things where I think you can rule out rear entry. Because you would have to have a grip on them hips. That would be borderline painful, I would guess.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty missionary.
Yeah, well, I think in the case of gender reversal, I don't think it would work too well if women had wings like that and they tried to have sex while flying, because there's something to be said about what fear does to male genitalia.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I think that would play in. If she suddenly lifted off the ground and started flying around, it's really a case of I think someone's starting to push a rope. This is not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that we've
But not in the air. I think it'll be fine.
Well, but you got to admit there are some people that would get really turned on, like Jesse said, if somebody was like astride them and those wings unfurled.
Yeah.
Just as long as they don't crow.
V, are you okay? Because I think the mental image got a little strong for you.
A little bit, maybe.
Is that stuttering sound that I've heard when women get turned on? It's just they're suddenly unable to finish a complete thought until it's too late.
Well, it helps that I'm also envisioning Angel as in the TV show with wings.
Oh my God, she's got David Boreanaz with bat wings on the mind. This is so weird.
Not bat wings, regular wings.
Oh, okay. Regular wings like there is in this scenario. Okay, I'm done poking. Phrasing. We'll move on to Reptile, which is kind of a different one compared to a lot of the things we've talked about. This power involves having a magical amulet fused to your chest, which would allow you to transform into any dinosaur in the zoology books.
Ooh. That's cool. But wait a minute. Is it like...
We're not talking like the imaginary stuff like Godzilla.
No, I mean like... Well, okay, that is kind of... Is it based on archaeology or is it based on historical fact?
It would be based on historical fact. Think of it as an amulet that allows you to unlock the genome and gives you the ability to transform into any dinosaur in history.
That's really cool.
My sole thing about this is how much of you stays you.
Yeah.
Because if you start munching on somebody and then you remember it afterwards, I could see that being very awkward.
Yeah, it could. Most of the stuff I've read involving this character in description of the powers is that the character retains an amazing amount of control unless absolute rage is involved.
Okay.
So you would have to get awfully personal awfully quickly to make somebody with these powers lose control of their faculties.
So basically he's not Hulk.
Correct. It's not Hulk stub toe, Hulk throw building!
I do think that would lend to a good deal of, again, dehumanization, though, because...
Yeah, people wouldn't respond well even when you're trying to help and you suddenly turn into a Styracosaurus or something.
Dinosaurs are freaking scary. I mean, they're awesome, but they're scary.
Yeah? Yeah, even if you transform into something small, I don't think people would react well to a raptor running through the mall.
Too many people seen Jurassic Park.
Just a theory.
Yeah. Dude gets shot in quick order.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine that, flying a small plane? Yeah, I'm coming in for a landing, and holy fuck, that's a pteranodon.
Honestly, I don't see a practical use for this power set.
Well, again, the argument is not practicality so much as what some regular person would do with this. I mean,
that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, if there's nothing practical to do with it, then the only thing to do, if you're going to make use of it, is the impractical stuff.
Yeah.
You would probably mostly transform into small little dinosaurs, or maybe underwater or something.
I could see him being really popular at kids' birthday parties.
I don't know. I'm one of those people that I think...
I could see... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead, finish the thought.
But I could definitely see him being very useful in ocean exploration.
Ooh, movies.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, movies.
good applications. I mean, I tried to think about what kind of person I would be under these circumstances, and I think I would just... I don't think I'd be the greatest of people. I could see that argument in a parking lot. You know why you're a little asshole? Is that because there's a Triceratops on top of your car? Oh, what? Excuse me.
Yeah. I think it would quickly lead to being, I'm better than everybody, and then shortly afterwards being shot in the head by the U.S. military.
I think realistically there'd be kind of a combination of things that we discussed going on. I think people would be resentful of somebody with these powers because of either appearance or what they were able to do, and I think somebody would quickly find themselves resenting others because you would have kind of a superiority complex if every time somebody pisses you off you could turn into an Allosaurus.
Yeah.
I could see this person just withdrawing from society and, kind of going the Wolfsbane route that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Back to nature.
If they did that, though, because of the cold-blooded nature of what you turn into, you would have to stick closer to the equator.
True. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Higher temperatures, it's easier to survive.
V?
They actually... since they keep saying that dinosaurs are closer to birds, however, it's becoming more and more likely that they were not cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
V, you were going to say?
I was going to say, if this happened at a futuristic time, they could just go to a jungle planet.
Forest moon of Endor?
Yeah.
And you decide to retreat to the rainforest and protect it.
Ooh,
from all those
psychotic
little bears eating people and using their helmets as drums.
I was going to say they could become an activist and go down to the Amazon rainforest and be like, nope, you are not logging anymore, bitches.
Wow, that would be a plain statement, wouldn't it? You don't find the bulldozers with sugar in the tanks. You find them turned over and stepped on and, crapped on. And what the hell is this?
Dinner.
Yeah,
but
they couldn't, bomb the Amazon because then you wouldn't have any forest.
True, but then it would turn into Predator or something. Groups of construction workers and security guys looking for whatever the hell did this in the machines. Suddenly there's that yellow eye glowing in the middle of the forest.
But eventually it would just be abandoned because too many resources.
No, they will hire professionals to come find you.
Yeah, then you have the guy come down the safari hat and he's eaten by 3 of you. But
it just becomes how good you are at hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truthfully, if you're able to alter your shape into any dinosaur at will, depending on your knowledge and how long you've been doing this, humans have the advantage of technology. But when it comes right down to it,
you get the
speed,
surprise,
viciousness, and so forth. Yeah, I would not put a human up against a dinosaur.
I wonder what this thing would do though when you attempt to have children.
Well, if you aren't shape-changed at the time, but if you do, as a female, if you do...
It's one of those interesting questions, because as you said, it depends on whether or not you shape-change. But considering that the origin of this thing is magical, there could be some unpredictable qualities if you attempt to have kids.
Right.
That's true.
Go ahead.
I would say they would probably have some aspect of your ability, more limited, or they have dinosaur parts.
Yeah, one of my kids is born with yellow slit eyes, and I just kind of stare back and go, just don't eat the dog.
What if you just found yourself laying eggs instead of...
Oh,
that would be awkward.
That would be one of those Jeff Goldblum fly type moments where you just wonder if you should put yourself back in the pod.
Right.
The other aspect of this was, sex with a partner could just be completely horrifying. They close their eyes, they open them again, and suddenly there's teeth staring at them.
Well, he's smiling.
Yeah, I doubt that's the first thought. Be more like, oh God, did I keep my balls?
Well, it's only anger that activates you. So
it's not anger that activates you. This thing is willing. It's shape change is will. It's when you get too angry is when you lose control of your rage.
Well, your instincts take over.
Yeah,
basically.
gnashing teeth. Somebody would only change if they were being ultimately cruel, but you gotta admit, there's some people out there that would be that weird.
yeah.
I think we'll move on because this is just getting creepy. Another character we talked about was Hazmat. It's a relatively new one, which has some classic tropes to it. Imagine constantly putting out a radioactive field around yourself. A poisonous radioactive field. Like you're a walking Fukushima plant, and the only way you can contain it and control it is via a containment suit.
Yeah, that's like dehumanizing in the extreme.
Yeah, the isolation kicks in almost immediately, obviously. And if you could interact with people, that would get better to a degree. I mean, somebody's not likely to piss you off if you can melt their car by, pointing. But still, I mean, if you have it all of a conscience, I don't know how you interact with people.
Yeah, I mean, you're constantly walking around in this suit. You've got that issue to deal with, because God help everyone else if you get a tear.
Yeah. No subway for you.
Honestly, yeah, you would have to live in a low population area because, traveling on a subway or anything where, crowds of people are involved, is not going to be... Not to mention, I honestly, if you're that much of a danger... people wouldn't want you around, and the government or somebody else would probably take steps to make sure that you weren't.
Or they would take steps to employ you. If a government's pissing you off too much, you just send them to a foreign country and tell them to take off your helmet.
Yeah.
This is a nightmare.
Yeah, it really would be.
The sex conversation can't even happen here because there's no useful way it would happen unless you're in a head-to-toe lead-lined condom.
Even then, it's not really sex.
Nope. You feeling that yet? I have no idea. This is just... It's scary. But if you think about it from the other format, if it's somebody with a less scrupulous person... This is hell on earth.
Yeah.
Yep.
If somebody wants to be in control of something, they're in control.
You're a walking ground zero.
Yeah, how do you fight something like this? I mean, obviously there's bullets, but you don't want to create ground zero in a city. Would you just nuke the town?
Carbonite.
It's going to get irradiated anyways, so...
Man.
Yeah, they probably would nuke it. Or some sort of...
Maybe napalm.
Yeah. They'd probably just
out.
escalate. It's like, does this work? No? Alright, next. Next.
No,
Next.
there's going to be that one jar that goes straight to the top. Nuke it.
Yeah, but they never listen to him till it's too late anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you, General Fire First. Yeah, this would just be horrifying. This was amazingly short for one. Jesse brought up a fun one, which is Clayface from the Batman series.
That just...
someone that's exposed to experimental chemicals, they cannot hold a human form for more than short periods of time. They are a giant malleable... Basically, it's like Prime's liquid flesh given voice. And they can change into other people on limited basis, but I don't think they can hold form for more than about 45 minutes before it turns into a problem.
Actually, in recent events, he can hold for much longer, but he has to get a DNA sample.
Okay. This is another thing that's almost instant isolationism, but of a different point, because you can't deal with being you. You're constantly dealing with being other people. That's how you would get through life.
Be other people, but it's the closest thing you're going to get to normal life.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we wrote it down last week, but now that I'm actually putting it through my brain, this is
horrible.
Yeah, this is one of those things where if you're not a villain already, you will be one very quickly.
Yeah, that's why I've had the reaction I had. I couldn't see that turning out well at all. Unless, of course, you happen to have one of those perverse, minds where you're just like, well, fuck everybody. Literally.
I mean, obviously you could get access to facilities that most people can't. You could access other people's bank account as long as you had a base idea of how they worked. You could potentially be the world's greatest movie star. Well, technically no, because you would look like the person, but you don't act like them necessarily.
What's surprising, that's what I think Clayface was a movie star.
Yeah, well, that's how he got exposed to the chemicals.
Yeah. Well, you could be a model. That doesn't involve acting.
Yeah.
If you were a great actor, you could be an actor.
Just in 1 hour bursts.
You could make your own video game with all the voice acting.
But I think this is also
You
one
can
of
make
those...
your own pinup poster.
But since
A
you can never
pinup
be
calendar.
yourself, I think this is just mind-bending because you would constantly be other people. I think you would start sneaking up on people just for interaction.
Yeah,
As someone they knew.
You could be yourself again, but only for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Or however much longer.
Yeah, I don't like how this would really drag on someone's psyche.
Yeah, no. Looking at yourself in the mirror, I honestly can't imagine that you would have mirrors in your house. Protective surfaces, in general, would probably be your bane.
Yeah. You imagine visiting the house of someone who has these powers? They look totally normal. You start walking down the hall, and you notice shattered glass everywhere.
Well, I would assume that, they would clean that shit up. But
Yeah. And then there's the added wrinkle that you don't just turn into other people with samples. You could, reform yourself into all kinds of melee weapons. This would just create somebody that's intensely broken.
yeah. No, this would create a monster, and someone would find use for it if they didn't find a use for themselves.
Yeah, this would end like an 80s thriller with, sheriffs pointing guns and fire everywhere, and he's better off this way.
Except it doesn't work.
Yeah, of course there'd be the money shot at the end where he crawls out of the sewer or whatever. Sexually? God damn, this would be terrible. Imagine losing control of this. You look like somebody else, you're having sex with somebody, then they open their eyes and they're staring back at themselves.
But it could be awesome.
Because you're
too.
definitely getting a good DNA sample.
God, that's twisted. V, you were saying what?
Well, if it was me, I think I'd be okay with it.
I love playing with myself. Would you want a perfect copy of you, or would you want one with reverse genitalia?
Reverse genitalia would be just creepy. I don't think I would look good as a guy.
Not as a guy, just with an extra piece there.
No. Again, with the creepy.
It's a question.
That's what strap-ons are for.
I had to ask a question because if they suddenly look like you, does that mean there's suddenly something shriveling from between your legs?
I wouldn't think so. I would think it would just.
Well, if they kept pounding, then that would imply that they still got one. That's why I ask.
Yeah.
It has to be.
They could make it look like a strap-on.
Oh my god.
I hurt.
This is interesting.
If I slept with a superhero, by V.
I'm just actually really intrigued by this.
I mean, you already have the ability to shape, body parts into various weaponry. I have no reason to believe that you couldn't form various other implements.
Yeah.
I suppose that's true.
You could be essentially a living sex doll.
Do you think they'd be able to make themselves vibrate?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, you can already kind of do that by humming, so I guess it's possible.
If they could make working machine parts, they could, but...
No, we're talking like T-1000 type shape shifting.
Yeah, no workable projectiles or anything like that.
I would think not, then.
I think that would be more disturbing if you suddenly open your eyes and they're halfway across the room and firing a penis into you.
Well, honestly, you wouldn't have to necessarily vibrate. You could just undulate.
Oh my god. This imagery is getting so damn foul. Go on, V, elaborate. You got something going on there.
No, I'm just trying to picture that. That's all.
Undulating?
Yes. It's not working.
Okay, what would your reaction be to something like that?
I'll try it once.
I'm just
There's
trying
only
to think. You could actually almost kind of get the whole effect of like sleeping on a waterbed.
I know there was only two ways her reaction could have gone. It would have either been, "I'll give it a shot," or "What the fuck?" Oh my god! I'm so glad my kids aren't in the room.
That is the thing, though. From what I remember, he has no internal organs or bones or anything like that anymore. So,
Right, there's no internal structure.
Yep. No skeletal structure, no musculature, no
He's
internal
living
organs.
clay at this point.
Living flesh would be a better way to put it.
So would you really enjoy sex? Would you have Do you have nerves?
I
Oh, no.
would assume he still has the sense of touch. I don't know exactly how it works.
No, actually, she's applying a very good question because he does. Somebody with his powers does react when he's hit in the back, but the question is he reacting because he feels something, or is he reacting because something is pushing around his flesh from that area?
Like, he could have sensation, but it might not be sensation in the way that we think
Right.
of sensation.
Yes.
It might not be pleasurable. It might just be a sense of...
A sense of
Waves
waves or vibration
Yeah.
from a certain
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
Well,
If he was still human at all, that doesn't mean he wouldn't still get the enjoyment of sexual interaction, but
well,
like the
electricity
emotional
still,
enjoyment.
if I recall correctly, electricity still works on him. He still could be shocked and frozen.
Yeah, but again, that doesn't guarantee that somebody with these powers would feel things the same way as your average person.
Yeah.
I mean, sex would still be kind of enjoyable depending on how much the mindset would be into it, because sex isn't just physical; it's also about give and take.
Right.
Yeah.
So there may still be something to get out of it, but
They could be, if they were very selfless, they could be the best sex partner ever.
yeah, you can make somebody airtight without anyone else in the room. But easy, Jesse. But it is a question that's never really been, at least on any level I know of, that's been associated with these powers, as to how he perceives touch. That is an interesting idea.
Kind of makes me wonder... I mean, honestly, that's one sense that's altered. How about his others? Taste, smell?
Well, since you're not dealing with somebody that uses anything akin to lungs or stomach anymore, I imagine that taste and smell are kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
And
That's
sight,
so.
I mean, if he doesn't have any organs anymore, how does he... Does he have to make organs, and do they work, or does he have some other kind of sensing?
Well, I seem to remember him being blinded by bright light at one point as well, so
Yeah, but
it's
that-
entirely possible that he is replicating...
To be fair, though, that could just be foul writing, because she's right. If you
Yeah.
don't have any organs, you don't have eyes.
Right.
It could be that somebody with these powers would be used to having eyes, so they just keep unconsciously recreating them in some format. But the perception would be that, I guess, everything would be sensed through
Vibrations.
the body. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah, you basically have a dolphin sense of almost echolocation, but not quite.
I guess it'd be closer to a snail. A snail doesn't have any organs,
Yeah,
but it
that's
still
true.
sees. This is.
I was trying-
wow.
I knew there was some better analogy than a dolphin.
It is interesting. But we'll go ahead and finish off this group of 8. We got the last one was kind of an interesting one. We chose Harley Quinn. This one isn't about power so much, because you're dealing with somebody who's relatively at peak human conditioning, which is attainable for anybody who's willing to put down the Big Macs long enough to get it to a gym. But
Not
the
me.
interesting... Yes, I'm well aware of that. But the interesting aspect of that is you would be dealing with somebody who was broken by another psychotic. And while the comics portray this person as usually somewhat whimsical and interesting to interact with, I would think that somebody who has been broken by a psychotic personality would not be that functional.
Well,
I guess it depends on at what level you're functioning.
it would have to depend on how strong your will to survive is, really, because if you...
No, the thing is, she wasn't broken. She bought into a story and has hung on to it.
Well, no, he did break her because she was supposed to be a psychologist, and she didn't maintain the clinical arm's reach as she was supposed to. She allowed herself to interact too deeply with the nut.
I think Maybe I just have a rephrasing.
Try again.
Maybe you have a better nut? What?
I think everybody's kind of crazy to a degree, and so the crazy people out there that are just nuts are
They're usually in
have
Congress.
they usually have something physically wrong with them.
I suppose that's true to it in some sorts. But, I mean, I've seen CEOs and congressmen. They're absolutely crazy, but they don't appear to have any limp or anything.
Well, not
I'm
limp,
just-
physically as in the brain.
I always thought her whimsy was her coping mechanism.
It's arguably whether or not it was the real personality in the case of the character herself. She may have been a little too restricted growing up.
Actually, reading the Harley Quinn, whatever, she grew up in a chaotic household where she was the only one that managed to get out.
Are you talking about the Villains Month thing?
Yeah.
No, we're skipping that simply
Okay.
because that is arguably the minority take on the character. When you think of this character, we're not talking about the one who bleaches your skin. We're talking about the one who is relatively normal looking for all intents and purposes and just dresses up. I mean, I don't quite know what to say because you are dealing with somebody who basically inherited someone else's nuttiness, but at the same time is also an Olympic-level gymnast, which implies a lot of strength.
Projection is a real psychological phenomenon, as I believe.
I'm not saying it's faked, but I mean, when you think about somebody who inherited someone else's crazy and someone else's mission and has extreme physical capability to them, this is troublesome.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, she's kind of hard to profile in the way that we want to because she can't exist without
Personality?
the personality that formed her.
Yeah.
You'd have to have some specific personality traits in order to fall into that.
Yeah.
And then she does not have any powers of her own, so...
Yeah, you're right. This one may be more of an exercise in futility, unfortunately.
But it is interesting to think about.
Yeah, no, how she would get along in society is how, about as well as anyone else that gets along in society when the rest of society doesn't agree with them.
Yeah.
You're going to get locked up.
Yeah, it does create something a little too specific. We'll go ahead and just pass on that one since, unfortunately, we have to discuss the character more than we have to discuss the possibility.
Yeah.
So that is actually all 8 of what we got. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on, but there really isn't.
Did we talk about the Steam thing?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you brought up
the Steam announcement. There were so many people I know that were ticked off because the way that Steam presented it as an advertisement and a countdown, they made it seem like it was going to be hooked up to the TV and a console, but instead the announcement was that Steam is coming out with a new controller. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
I don't really
I honestly don't
understand that. Yeah.
I guess it's arguable. A lot of people were expecting a console that they could plug into their TVs rather than trying to run a line from their PC to their TV. When they got a controller instead, I guess they just kind of overhyped it for themselves a lot.
I guess.
Yeah, that's strange.
To be honest, the one benefit that Steam had over consoles is the fact that it's running on my computer.
Yeah, exactly. That, and I kind of like the idea of a controller.
Yeah.
It's up to the individual.
True.
I agree with the notion that if I spend all these money on games, I would like to see it on my larger screens instead of relegated to the smaller one.
This is also true, but there's easy ways to hook up any computer to your TV nowadays, so I really don't... For me, it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah. I suppose so. I really don't have anything else going on. I finished the anime series I was following this season. I'm really happy with how that ended up. Ginga Kikotai Majestic Prince.
Oh, I still haven't seen the last episode.
It is worth it. It was a really satisfying ending, although it left a few things aggressively open-ended.
I see. Well, perhaps they'll have a follow-up.
I'm not holding out hope considering it was a long season technically.
True.
I don't have anything else. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, I have not been able to figure out what to do for next week. There's a few things that have been happening, but I haven't made a decision. Actually, how about the first 6 issues of Superior Spider-Man, the Doctor Octopus Spidey?
I have been kind of interested in that one. I tried reading a little of it, but
It's a different take on everything and a little outside the norm, and I've almost convinced myself that this storyline's going to end soon. With another Spider-Man movie coming, you imagine they're going to put Peter Parker back in the suit.
And you said what, first 6?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's relatively short and easy to follow along. V, any objections or ideas?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. I think she's still stuck in the idea of undulating penis. Alright, well, I thank you guys for coming in, and I invite you to roll with us again next week. I am Jeremy.
Steve?
Jesse.
And V.
Have a great one. I think we managed to disturb ourselves a little too much in this one.
I have never managed to disturb myself.
Really? You've never interrupted yourself masturbating? Because I would think that'd be disturbing. No coitus interruptus?
It's not that big of a deal to interrupt. Well, okay,
Wait.
it depends on what point you interrupt.
Okay, so that's officially not a no.
I'm sure. I mean, I haven't finished lots of times, so the point is not always to finish.
Okay, so you're not a completionist.